of you amazing souls, and welcome to my channel, Roseology. So we are in a new season, the season of Libra, and I'm so excited for this season because unlike last season, which was Virgo season, I feel like I can relate a lot more to Libra because I have a stellium in my 7th house and a stellium in my 1st house. So I've always had a very strong pull between my 1st and 7th houses. My South Node is in my 7th house as well. So these areas have dominated my life for so long, and I'm finally feeling like I got a grip on them a little bit anyways. So this is a very exciting time for me, but as well as if you don't have a lot of action going on with Libra, Venus, or your 7th house, there's still some really impactful developments that this season will be encouraging, and that's what we're going to be getting into today. So this video, we're going to be deciphering the energy of this new moon and what Libra season will be energetically introducing us to. So I'll be talking about astrological placements, some herbs, oils, and candles you can work with to manifest or banish for this new moon. And I have some cards pulled here that I'll briefly be intuitively interpreting for you all. But I really like how we did the card pull last full moon video, where I left you all with the opportunity to intuitively conjure up your own message from the cards. So I'll also be doing that again at the end of this video. So before we get started, let me just say this is a video for the collective, and everything that I speak on in this video is not concrete. This is not something that you should be just, applying to your life without discerning it and going through your own energetic process. This is just simply my interpretation of the energy the collective is experiencing right now. So take what resonates with you and leave everything else. To help you all get tapped into your own psychic knowing, aka intuition, that the way this message speaks to you, I will be having a 30-second meditation. If you'd like to participate, go on ahead, take a few deep breaths in for about 5 seconds, hold that breath for 3, then exhale for around 6 seconds or longer. And after you've done that, we'll get started on that meditation right now. All right, hopefully that meditation helped you guys get intuitively synced in to the energy here. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart for getting this channel to 25,000 subscribers. You guys are so dope and amazing. Thank you to my guides, your guides, our higher self, and spirit itself for this lovely message. So now without further ado, let's get into this new moon in Libra vibe, all right? Now the title of this reading, I mentioned relationships and how this Libra season will be affecting your relationships. Because if there's one thing the entire world has generalized about Libra, is that they are hopeless romantics, or all Libras care about are their relationships. And now with me being very appreciative of astrology and protective over it, it's always offensive for me to hear people generalizing signs, houses, and planets, because they are so much deeper than that. And I know you guys have been asking me to do more relationship pick a cards, and I promise you guys, I promise, I am working on them. I have them scheduled to film in my calendar. But one reason why I focus so much more on the self versus relationships here on my channel, it's kind of biased, but it's because I spent majority of my life focused on the relationships that I was invested in, and many of them ended up hurting me tremendously. And it caused me to sort of deep dive into my spiritual journey when I looked around and realized, like, wow, I've given my all to these relationships, and here I am left out in the cold, alone, served on a silver platter to the wolves. And that's how I felt. I was very hurt and confused as to how so many of my closest relationships, and I mean relationships that lasted for decades, relationships with my family, I was hurt and confused as to how you can love so hard, but at the end of it, it means nothing to that other party. So it forced me to take a really scary look at the fact that, wow, now I'm alone and I have no clue who I am without these relationships. And that was terrifying for me. And it put me in one of the darkest places of my life for 3 years. I spent 3 years with my shadow and making the worst decisions because I felt so corrupted by people. I felt corrupted by the world. I felt corrupted by my relationships. I felt corrupted by my own heart. I felt betrayed by my own heart because I allowed myself to invest into a person that could do the things that were done to me. And so when the pain got to be too much, the only thing that showed up to save me was me. And ever since I stepped into that power, I realize now that relationships are bonuses in a way. They don't define us. They are additions to us, not the sum of us. They are here to accelerate our growth and understanding of ourselves, understanding of people and life. They are here to expand our mind and to show us how to view life through another's lens. They are here to expose us to another world that exists outside of our own. And that's one of the most beautiful experiences you can have, even if the relationship doesn't work out. But what a relationship is not here to do is it's not here for us to rely on or to depend on. That's a very dangerous thing. And that's something that I allowed and chose to do for much of my life. And it got me nowhere. And these painful lessons, they taught me a lot. And the most valuable lesson I learned was when you invest in yourself, you will never get let down. You can only thrive when you invest in you. So the point of my channel really started to help others find their way back to themselves, stepping into that immense power that you have, not allowing the world to corrupt you or to break you, but to allow the world and all of its antics, whether good or bad, to push you towards your own greatness and your own potential. And I annihilated one of the biggest obstacles in my life, and that obstacle was depression and anxiety. I got diagnosed with that at the start of my dark night of the soul, and this was something that I thought I'd never overcome because there's no cure for it. And it was so constant where it's like I'm feeling great one day, and then for no reason I'm so sad or so exhausted the next day and in so much pain. And this would last about 3 to 5 days for every bout of depression. Then it will go away for a few weeks before coming right back around again. And it got to the point where I would be terrified of falling asleep because I didn't know if I was going to wake up having a good day or a bad day, feeling okay or feeling depressed again. And this is one thing that I really do kind of hate about the rise and these diagnoses of depression and anxiety is doctors saying, hey, yeah, you have depression and anxiety, so take these pills because it's incurable. There's nothing that we can do to help you. Sometimes you can find an amazing therapist or a psychologist or a psychiatrist, but they are few far in between. And I think many of us that believe in therapy have had 1 or 2 bad experiences with, maybe a inexperienced therapist or something like that. And that's why so many people kind of disregard therapy as bullshit, because of the high percentage of people that don't feel like they're actually getting helped. So we have doctors just throwing prescriptions instead of telling people that 1, depression and anxiety is something that we all suffer from, but the symptoms and intensity is different for everyone depending on several different factors. And 2, that we do have power over our own minds. We can dictate how it is what we feel. We are not powerless or victims, especially to our own emotions and mental state. I think to take that power away from someone and to tell them that it's hopeless what you're going through, there's no cure, there's no help, is an extremely dangerous thing, especially when you are stripping that person of their own power. You are telling them you are a victim to not only the world and outside circumstances, but you are also a victim to your own self. There is no worse taking of power than that, in my opinion. When you tell a person that they have no options, you have no power, that leads a person to become codependent on something or someone, because they may start relying on something or someone else to give them power, or they may start relying on something or someone else that they deem as more powerful than their own self. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself here, but that was definitely the outcome for me was, well, since it's hopeless, let me try to find my own way of coping. And that led to self-medicating, and I developed a dependency on these things because I felt so hopeless. I had lost so many of my relationships that I depended on. I felt alone, I felt scared, I felt vulnerable, and I felt weak for feeling these ways on top of all that. And it didn't help to also have a medical professional coming in to validate that fact by throwing a prescription at me and saying, yeah, depression and anxiety is completely incurable. Now, I'm not saying to anyone to stop your medication. I'm not saying to stop seeing your medical practitioners. I'm not saying to change up anything in your schedule, to change up anything in your medication. Please do not listen to me over your medical professionals, okay? Over your doctors. Please don't do that. I'm just talking about my own experience, what I've experienced, what I've gone through. And for me, it was a lie to be told that my depression and anxiety was incurable, because I definitely did end up curing it. And what I'm saying is to not forget just how powerful you are. Do not allow a relationship, a friend, a family member, the government, the law, your boss, church, society, celebrities, a doctor. I don't give a damn who they are or what they have. At the end of the day, they have no dominion over you. So don't allow anyone to take that power from you. Don't allow anyone to make you feel as though they know what's best for you over you. You know what's best for you. You just got to claim that back, okay? Now, if you choose to give it away, that's your own prerogative and that's up to you. But don't feel hopeless. Don't confuse giving your power away with not having any power at all. No, you do. You definitely do have power. You may have just accidentally given it to someone else, depending on what has influenced you in your life. So if no one has told you this before, let me be the first one to say that you are amazing. You are lovable, you are extraordinary, you are beautiful, you are powerful, you are enough, you are worthy of knowing that and walking in that light every single day. That is your birthright that was exclusively given to you by the divine, by the Most High, by powers that are bigger and greater than us and bigger and greater than anything on this planet. So the powers that be only are because we have allowed it. We chose it. And I remember this line in Game of Thrones. I'm obsessed with that show. But I remember this line where Varys says to somebody, I think maybe Tyrion, but he says to him, why is a man a king? And he says, because we believed him to be one. And that is so true. And you can apply that to any relationship in your life, whether you know this person or not. This could be your relationship with your close loved ones, or referring to your relationship with your own body, the internet, sex, with intimacy, with your emotions, with money, with society, with just about anything. The only reason someone has any bit of authority over you is because you have given it to them. Take it away if that's what you want to do. There's more than enough power around for everyone to feel empowered and confident and secure and fulfilled. But some beings are very greedy, and some beings will try to take yours because they haven't found theirs yet. So don't allow them to take yours away because they aren't strong enough to locate their own, all right? And the interesting thing about this new moon in Libra is it's dealing with the scales. It's dealing with the balance. It's dealing with dynamics. This stretches to power and power struggles. When you take a deeper look at Libra, yes, it deals with relationships, but what are relationships? Relationships are a connection between two entities that have to learn how to distribute the right or an equal amount of power between the two in order to have a harmonious connection. Relationships are a great way to access the amount of power we have or have given away. Now, let me just say, if you are underage or had a difficult dynamic with power at a young age, that is not your fault. We can only accept responsibility at a culpable age for where our power resides, all right? Because I've heard a lot of people say, you know, this is why I can't stand spirituality, because you guys say, well, you manifested pain and you manifested this and you manifested that. But it's like you're focusing on the glass half empty here. You need to focus on the glass half full. No, we do not manifest beings and people violating us and hurting us and assaulting us and abusing us. No, we did not manifest that. Did we somehow attract that into our life? Yes. Does it mean that we deserved to be treated that way? Absolutely fucking not. Let me just say that, because I can't stand when people say that. I don't like when people connect spirituality to other people's messed up choices and decisions, because it has nothing to do with that. Sometimes, yes, we do manifest things or attract things into our life, but it is all about acknowledging the fact that we have that much power, that we did influence certain outcomes. Like I said, certain violations, certain abuses, certain assaults, things like that are not meant for us. It does not mean that we're deserving of being treated in a horrible way in any way, shape, or form. But did we have a hand in attracting that? Yes, possibly. Everybody's story, everybody's journey is completely different. You could have attracted this from a previous lifetime. There's a million different things that could be going on here, okay? So I just wanted to get that out of the way. But relationships are an amazing way to take a glimpse into who has the power. Where is the power? Have I given it away, or is this an equal exchange, aka a partnership? And that's what Libra truly stands for. And that's why it's represented by the scales, because it's about the balance of power. It's about the balance of authority. We constantly are encountering this in every relationship of ours, where it's like we're constantly battling with, how much are they allowed to get away with? Should I speak up and say how I feel? How have they made me feel? How have I made myself feel? And this is why Libra, like Taurus, is ruled by the star Venus, or the planet Venus. I'm a Taurus sun, so to have a stellium in my 7th house, the house ruled by Libra and Venus, it has been very intense in my life. But Venus in a general sense is about beauty, attraction, love, money. But taking a deeper look at Venus, Venus is actually about value, what makes us feel of value and how we contribute that value to others. So there's a dynamic that Libra likes to explore by the way of Venus. But the way the planetary placements are for this new moon, there's a question of power reigning supreme over many of our lives, okay? Getting into the astrological placements, this new moon in Libra occurring on the 28th or 29th, depending on which part of the world you are in, will be having the sun, moon, Mercury, and Venus in the sign of Libra. So the sun, which represents the ego or what we most identify with, and the moon representing our emotional or subconscious being, the more spiritual side of us, will be linking up with Mercury, the ruler of the mind and communication, as well as Venus, which is the planet of how we express value or love and attraction. So these personal planets coming together are going to have us highly focused on our dynamics with others. This can also include the self, especially depending on your own natal chart and where these planets fall in your birth chart. I have the link for astro.com listed in the description box below, where you can type in your birth credentials and the site will generate your natal chart for free and show you everything it is that you could possibly see about your natal placements. But these planets are going to have us hyper focused on the workings of our dynamics, institutions, relationships, the working of us, our dreams and goals, and how power is tied into all that. So the reason why I say that we ourselves may have an intense focus on the self is because Uranus is in the sign of Taurus. And I'll never forget when this planet first moved into the sign of Taurus. One of the first things I said, and no one ever mentioned this for some reason, but one of the first things I said was, wow, there's going to be a lot of people making huge changes and decisions to stop living for others and to start living for themselves, especially the people that found their rise or maybe some fame over the internet and social media in the last 7 to 10 years. I remember saying some of them may shut down their sites or just simply decide, you know what, I'm sick of entertaining others. I want to do me for now. I just want to get rid of everything and go move to Montana and just live on a field or something crazy. And this is because Uranus moved out of Aries, and Aries is a very in a general sense, it's kind of look at me, it's very look at me, I'm first, I'm making big moves. And sometimes Aries will do that for the praise of others because it makes Aries feel good to be appreciated or to be praised by others. This is in a very general sense here. But Taurus is more so screw what people want from me because I want to feel good. Taurus is ruled by Venus, like Libra, and is a sign that lives for stimulating the 5 senses. What feels good, looks good, tastes good, sounds good, smells good. That's all that matters to Taurus. Taurus doesn't take anyone else into account because it's more self-focused, or it's more internally focused than externally focused. So Uranus is a generational planet and is in a sign that is also ruled by the same planet that rules Libra. And this new moon is in Libra. So there's even more focus during this new moon on the self, because Uranus is the individual. That's why he's so unpredictable, because he lives for himself and no one else. And for him to be in the sign of Taurus, which is pretty internally focused, there's a lot of energy kind of situated towards, okay, what makes me feel good? What about me? So that's why I'm saying there's kind of this dynamic or this power struggle here between how much of myself do I want to invest? How much of myself do I want to give away to this person, place, thing, cause, whatever it may be? How much of myself am I willing to invest, or am I willing to expend for someone else? And this kind of creates, like I was saying, a conundrum or a paradigm here of, okay, I'm giving you this much. I'm giving this much of my own power away. I'm giving up this much of myself away to you, for your benefit, or for whatever reason, so that the way we can live and coexist harmoniously. This new moon will definitely shine a light on relationships, but that relationship could be the one that you have with your own self or an aspect of yourself. So during this time, or this season, you may feel extra self-involved. And don't let that confuse you if you're thinking that Libra is all about your relationships. There's some dynamics between the planets as well that's stressing their own agendas, and it's different for everyone. So you may decide to walk away from some of your relationships. You may decide you need some space from your relationships, or you may decide that you need some space from your own self, from being so self-focused, so that the way you can invest into the relationships and into the people in your life. This can really go either way, okay? So don't be be too set in thinking that this season is a season for others. No, it's always about you first and foremost. So that may manifest in your life different from what it is that you may be expecting, okay? Another important thing to mention here is Pluto is moving through the sign of Capricorn, and Pluto is such a force to be reckoned with. All of the planets are, but Pluto is a revolutionary through death, through the ending of things. And Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. I call him Father Saturn because Saturn is my chart ruler actually, but Saturn comes to teach us these really hard lessons and discipline through challenges, pain, and fears, because Saturn trudges up some of our most difficult challenges, some of our most intense pains, and some of our worst fears. And this is how he teaches us discipline, and this is how he teaches us, is through these really, really brutal and rough experiences. But he causes these tidal waves of difficulties in our life because he knows we can rise to the occasion and defeat whatever is in our way. Saturn never, ever, ever sets us up to fail, although many people chalk Saturn up to just that, but it could not be further from the truth. So with Pluto, the god of transformation, moving through rigid and rough Capricorn, this is like water flowing through the earth, like the Grand Canyon, for instance. Water formed the Grand Canyon. Something as soft as running water shaped this entire crater into the face of our Mother Earth. And that's what Pluto is doing to Capricorn right now. It is carving through its rigidity and is softly and slowly breaking down Capricorn, because Pluto is a generational planet. It's the planet that is furthest from our sun in our own solar system. And that's what the generational planets refer to. It refers to the planets that are furthest away from the sun. Pluto, being the farthest planet from our sun, moves very slowly. And so Pluto is really breaking down Capricorn right now. Pluto spends about 20 years in every sign that it moves through. So Pluto is really moving through Capricorn right now and is really just carving out all of these different lessons that Capricorn is teaching us. Pluto is helping to transform us through these lessons that Capricorn is teaching us. That's what Pluto is doing to Capricorn right now. It's carving through its rigidity and is softly and slowly breaking down Capricorn. So how this can manifest in our life during the season of Libra is with the long term or the permanent fixtures that we have in our life. So this could be relationships, systems, institutions, rules, regulations, lifestyles, laws, even the legal system. Any one of these things are at risk of being broken down by that force of Pluto. So yes, relationships could end or they could mend. But the biggest thing many of you may see happening here is the breakdown of these things in a way where the power shifts to the other side during Libra season, especially if that dynamic of power was imbalanced in any way. So if your partner, for instance, has always been the one in charge, making the decisions, calling the shots, you could see an overthrow of that power where they are no longer revered as the ruling authority or the authoritative figure in some capacity. You may see people in positions of power getting humbled during this season. If you yourself are in a position of power and have been abusing that position, you yourself could be at risk of getting humbled. All of us are always at risk of getting humbled by the universe because the universe is constantly teaching us things, constantly expanding our mind. So getting humbled is not a bad thing, the way that we've generalized it. But, so you could definitely see people in positions of power losing that position, getting humbled in some way, shape, or form by that position. So that one position that they may have relied on for their power to exert their power may actually turn in on them, depending on how it is that they've been using or exercising that power as of late. Because Libra is very karmic. That's why the scales are here. The scales, anytime we're dealing with scales, balance 180 degrees, we're dealing with karma. We are dealing with reflection. We are dealing with mirrors. Okay, so we are dealing with this is what you have caused and this is what you are receiving because of the actions and decisions that you've made. Okay, so this is basically the humbling of authority. Whoever is the one in power, where we get to see this figure exposed, or we get to see them vulnerable, or we see them displaced from their usual position. This may cause you to see for the first time, wow, you're not as powerful as I thought. Or there may be a realization of, I do have a say-so in this too, or I also have a voice, or I can think for myself. It's like that spell almost gets broken where it's like, I thought you were so untouchable, but you're not. No, nobody is untouchable. Nobody is inevitable. Nobody is untouchable by anything. And the universe is constantly working to show that to everyone. The universe is constantly working to balance itself. So the universe is always making ways for people to realize, oh, I'm equal to you. No matter your status, your position, your money, the color of your skin, the religion that you practice, it doesn't matter what walk of life you come from. We are all equal because the universe worships balance. the universe is always going to maintain that balance. So sometimes that means certain things, certain people have to get humbled, certain things, certain people have to come down to a certain sense, and maybe not where they lose their position of power, but just in a way where it's like there's a focus on how have you been using your power? Have you been using it in a healthy way? Now, what happens when we have this occur is there's almost a vacuum of power created where someone or something has to fill that space. So you just want to make sure that as Pluto wipes through this area of your life, that you are placing the right person or thing in power. Hopefully it is you. Last full moon in Pisces, just a couple weeks ago, I talked about how there was a portal or a door that was forming to create this opportunity to connect to the spirit realm and to connect to higher powers. This new moon will create a portal to your future self. So this is an opportunity for many of us to claim that freedom, change, evolution, power, whatever it is we may have been looking for or may have been lacking. So there's like a coup d'etat that is happening as an opportunity for you to claim your own authority and control wherever you may need it in your life. Like I said, this will be different for everyone. So this can manifest as a sort of karmic retribution for a lot of people, depending on what your actions have been as of late. Libra's balance of the scales ruled by Venus. Venus is what makes us feel valued and how we show value to others. So it's about reflection. Relationships are mirrors or projections or reflectors to the self, many times in some way. So this is a time where that due diligence is coming in, whatever that may mean for you, okay? So like I was saying, there's an overthrow of power here. There's a coup going on here. And it's really coming in as an opportunity for you to really claim power, authority, dominion, whatever it is that you may need over whichever area of your life you may be lacking that in, okay? So now that we are done with the astrological portion of this video, I'm just going to be mentioning a few crystals, oils, herbs, candles, different colored candles that you can work with to attract whatever it is you're trying to attract for this new moon. So these are different sort of items that are already primed to match this Libra energy. And this is why the herbs and crystals and oils and things like that change from season to season, from moon to moon, because this is different sort of energy that we're working with. So the different crystals that are going to be really, really good to work with is Bloodstone. I'm actually going out to purchase some today because I actually just found some a few days ago. Citrine is another beautiful stone to use for this Libra new moon. This one is a citrine cluster, and then I just also have a rough citrine stone here that I'm absolutely obsessed with. I've been using the citrine stone since like Leo season, but citrine's a really good crystal to work with. Another good stone to work with for this Libra new moon is a Tourmalinated quartz, also referred to sometimes as a rutilated quartz, where it's just a normal clear quartz crystal, but there are little flecks and pieces of tourmaline, black tourmaline in here. I love these pieces. They're so beautiful. And another good stone to work with would be Lepidolite. Now, I'm going to be honest, I haven't really worked with Lepidolite a lot. I have bonded with it and meditated with it, but I really haven't spent time getting to know this stone. So I don't know if I'm actually going to be using it for this Libra new moon, but this is a stone that is attached to Libra energy and this new moon energy, so it'll be perfect to use. So Obsidian will be another really good stone to use for this Libra new moon. I love Obsidian. It's just, there's something about, black is my favorite color. It's been my favorite color since I was in middle school, since I was like 10 or something. I just absolutely love black. Like my whole home is like done in like shades of black and things like that. I just love it. I think it's chic. It's beautiful. Another stone that's going to be very useful for this Libra new moon will be tourmaline, some black tourmaline, a rough tourmaline stone. There we go. Now it's in focus. This was just actually sitting up here. I actually use this stone to protect my altar. So I have it sitting right in front of my altar. I always keep it there, but I love black tourmaline. Like I was just saying, black is my favorite color. It's been that way since I was like a kid, which I know probably sounds really weird for a kid to love the color black. But tourmaline is going to be something that's really good to use for this Libra new moon, because tourmaline is such a powerful protector. You can use this to protect you, protect your rituals for the new moon, to protect your intentions for this new moon, whatever it is you want to protect. This will be a really great stone to incorporate into your new moon ritual for Libra. Another good stone to use, I actually don't know where it's at, but it would be some opal or opalite, moonstone, and jade. Another really good crystal to use would just be a basic clear quartz crystal. You can never go wrong with this. So if you don't have any of these other crystals mentioned, you can program clear quartz to be any crystal that you need. So, you know, if you need a crystal, or if you just want to use a crystal to attract in love, to attract in power, to attract in more money, to attract in anything, to banish anything, do not sleep on a clear quartz crystal, because it's such a powerful crystal. It can really be whatever it is you need it to be. That's how amazing and powerful clear quartz is. So moving on to some candle colors that you guys can use would be blue, pink, or violet would be some really good colors to use for this Libra new moon. Oils that you guys can work with are frankincense, geranium, rose, chamomile. Some herbs would be catnip, bergamot, thyme, elderberry, ginger, lemon, fenugreek. And another thing I wanted to say as well before moving on to the cards is to make sure to also watch the area of the kidneys for this Libra season, because Libra rules the kidneys, the skin, the lower back, and the butt. So be extra kind to those areas for Libra season, because like I said, this energy, it's very real. Whether you co-sign it or not, this energy is real, and it's crazy how certain body parts will be more susceptible to certain things, or will be a little more fragile depending on which season is current, and depending on your own natal placements as well. So these different crystals, herbs, and oils, you can work with all of these different items. You can work with all these different products to craft your own sort of concoctions, to brew your own remedies, to make your own oils, to make your own waters, to make things that you can apply to your skin, that you can drink or put in your body. Just make sure that it is edible, that it can be consumed without any sort of issues. If you're going to be consuming something, I would just suggest some water that you have programmed or charged to fit whatever it is that you're trying to bring in or attract or banish from your life. But yeah, you can use these different herbs and oils and crystals. You can make them into concoctions and different mixtures that you can apply to yourself, to your home, to your body, to a candle. If you want to dress your candle, you can wipe down certain surfaces in certain areas. You can use it to bless your altar space. There's a lot that you can do with these different herbs and oil mixtures. You don't have to be a professional. You don't have to be somebody who's been doing this for 35 years. You can do this on your own. It doesn't take much. Trust me, you guys, when I first got started my spiritual journey, that was one of the first things that I was led to do, was to start crafting things on my own from Mother Nature, basically. So whether that would be stones and rocks, different herbs, plants, trees, flowers, things like that, I would just bring them all together and I would charge them all for my intentions, and they worked every single time. And this was before I knew which herbs and plants and things like that and oils went with which different types of seasons, went with which different types of energies and things like that. I really didn't know anything about any of that, and I just still used whatever it was around me. I charged it. I put my faith into it. That's all you need at the end of the day, is faith and heart. That will take you to the finish line every single time. So don't feel like you have to rely on a professional. Don't feel like you have to rely on anybody else. You can do this at home on your own for literally like $10 or less. It's really up to you what it is that you want to use. So just really go off of your own intuition. You can do this for yourself as well. Okay. Like I was saying with this Libra season, this is all about realizing how much power it is that we have, not relying on others to do anything for us, not relying on others to make us feel validated or to make us feel powerful, but recognizing our own power, appreciating our own power, appreciating our own resilience. Okay. So try to get comfortable with that. If you're not comfortable, this is a great time, a great new moon to get really comfortable with manifesting and attracting and using your own power. Okay. Now we're going to go on ahead and move on to the tarot portion of this video. So I really like the way that we did the last full moon video, how I briefly interpreted the cards for you guys and closed out by leaving you guys alone with the cards to conjure up your own interpretations of what the spread is saying. So I'll be doing that again today. All right, so let's start off with the tarot cards here first. So the very first one that we have is the Hierophant. Hopefully you guys can see that. There's not a little bit of glare there. The Lovers. Wow. It's funny we ended up pulling this one for Libra season. Really funny. Just spent the entire video talking about it's not about relationships, and then boom, the Lover. Then we have the Queen of Swords. This is really crazy, and I don't think I've ever pulled cards like this before, but we have the Hierophant, and then right after we have the Lovers card, and this is the card that jumped out directly after the Hierophant. That's why I have them situated like this. So it's interesting because the Hierophant is card number 5 in the Major Arcana of Tarot, and the Lovers is card number 6 in the Major Arcana of Tarot. I mean, the chances of these cards coming out right after another is insane. But the interesting thing that I'm seeing right away here is the Hierophant. He carries a masculine, almost patriarchal sort, not almost. He definitely carries a masculine, patriarchal sort of energy because he's very much about order and hierarchy, the chain of command and subjugation, because he's the Pope. He's at the top of the food chain, the creme de la creme, being a medium between man and God. Then we have the Lovers right after, expressing the range or spectrum that exists between two different polarities, because man and woman represent two polar opposites. So this card is represented by Gemini, the Lovers here, who is and Gemini is very broad, very open to the world around it, very unlike the Hierophant here, who is pretty much closed off, pretty much like, no, I found my way, this is it, and that's all I'm concerned about. What I'm seeing between these two cards is an exchange of power, going from someone like the Hierophant, which is someone that has the keys to the most sacred and exclusive stream of knowledge, to the Lovers, who allude to a balance between two entities, an equal partnership of differences. There is no one in the Lovers being idolized or worshipped like the Hierophant here, that has two people kneeling before him. We go from the two people, let me just hold this up because this is crazy. We go from two people in the Hierophant here, almost like worshiping this Pope figure, you know, very, very much investing into his word. His word is his bond. That's it. That's all they need, is to hear from the Hierophant here. And then we go from these two people, and we really don't know. These two people could be the Lovers. We're not sure. But we go from these two people worshiping or idolizing someone else, almost saying as though, you know, I'm placing you on this pedestal because you are more than me. You know, maybe you know more than me. Maybe you're more wise. Maybe you're more connected than I am. Maybe you are more connected to this divine intelligence than I am, right? To seeing two people exclusively on their own, saying all we need is each other. There is no one in this Lover cards that's being idolized or worshipped like in the Hierophant here. We go from that to two people recognizing their differences as one in the same, and they harmonize so beautifully because of that. So there's a clear shift in power that is happening here from card to card, where there is clearly one individual being praised to now both parties being celebrated and appreciated. Then moving on to the Queen of Swords here. She's almost like Lady Justice, right? And this card is tied to the signs Virgo and Libra. So it's very interesting. But what I'm seeing here is the Queen of Swords liberating people from totalitarianism and distributing an equal amount of power to all parties through verbal expression. The Queen of Swords is saying to me, it's our ability to speak up that's going to liberate us. It's our own willpower, voice, and inner strength that will free us. We are the ones that have to fight for equality, for our value to be recognized, and for our voice to be heard. The only one that will save us is us. And that's why the Queen is holding her own sword. You don't see any other, let me hold this card up too. I mean, since just every card is just serving today. So let me get it in focus. There we go. As you can see in this Queen of Swords here, you don't see any security or guards around her or another man or another person wielding a sword, because she doesn't need it. The Queen of Swords does not need any protection. She doesn't need anyone to fight for her, defend for her at all. She is perfectly capable of defending herself and speaking her own truth without the need of a chaperone. Just like the Lovers card here, they no longer needed this chaperone. So they left and went out and decided to explore and experiment on their own, to figure out life, to interpret life on their own, to develop their own interpretations. Okay, the Queen of Swords doesn't need anyone else to tell her what belongs to her. If she senses any sort of injustice or imbalance, she's the one wielding the sword, because she's the one with the true authority to make her presence known as the Queen, to say, no, there's injustice here. I'm establishing justice in a place of injustice. I'm establishing order in a place of disorder. I'm establishing power in a place where so many other beings also have their own power, also have their own voice. I'm making myself known in this world of differences. She isn't dominating anyone else. She's not taking power from anyone else. She's claiming her own through her own expression, voice, and words. I'm loving this right now. I feel like she's having the last say here, where the Queen of Swords is saying, yes, I can respect other people in their own respective positions of power, like the Hierophant, and I know how to share my power within my relationships and the people that I love, like the Lovers here, but I am still my own woman. I am still my own person. I am still my own journey. I'm still on my own journey that needs every ounce of my essence and freedom to live a life of balance and order that makes sense to me, that speaks to my own truth, that resonates to my own being. So she's very protective of her own individuality, even though she's still mixing and mingling with the world and her personal relationships, which I love. This is very Aquarius-like vibes. And this is also what I was touching on when I was speaking about Uranus. It's the planet of the individual. That's why he's so unpredictable, because he's such an individual and he is moving through the sign of Taurus. Taurus is also ruling the card here, Hierophant. We have the signs Taurus, Gemini, and Virgo and Libra here. Uranus moving through the sign of Taurus is very much so internally focused about what makes sense to me. What is my truth? What life do I want to live? What reality do I want to surround myself with? Okay. Very Aquarius-like vibes. All right. So let's go ahead and check out you guys' oracle cards here, see what else it is that we have going on since the tarot cards just served. So the very first one that we have is Owl. Wise Seeing, Wise Action. Then Skeleton Strength. Look at this. Divine Guidance. Whispers from the beings who shine, let their message be clear and kind. Love that. Knowledge. Let me connect above and below. Let the knowledge of ancestors flow. Take time to breathe out. Disseminating moon. Very interesting. Your hard work is paying off. New moon in Capricorn. Nothing is yet set in stone. Mutable moon. Scrying mirror. Projection. Lots. Chance. And crystals. Healing. So what I'm seeing with all of these beautiful oracle cards here, starting with divine guidance, I'm hearing the message that we are the divine guidance because of the knowledge that we have accrued. We can trust ourselves to know right from wrong according to our own truths. Our karma is our karma to endure. We are responsible for the karma it is that we create. That's not something that we need to be taught. We know how this works now. We can divinely guide ourselves with the knowledge it is that we have. Moving on to Owl, Wise Seeing, Wise Action here is tying into the divine guidance and knowledge card for me, alluding back to wisdom, trusting our own vision and our own truths. Moving on to Skeleton Strength here, it's interesting because it's telling me again that there's a quiet, almost meekness that's just pulsating from this card right now. Because when I look at this card with the word strength on it, let me just hold it up. When I look at this card with the word strength on it, with the picture of a skeleton, it threw me off a little bit. Like, yeah, we are made up of something as fragile as bone, which is our skeletons. Our skeletons is just bone. Our skeletons, our bones, they're fragile. They can break very easily. That's why they're covered up by our physical body, by our flesh. But something that is as fragile and can break as easily as bone is also strong enough to support an entire body of flesh, blood, organs, and whatever we consume or put on our body. So there's a subtle or humbleness with the strength tied into this card here. So what I'm seeing again is this exchange of power. Actually, let me change that word because this card has inspired me. There's not an exchange going on here, as in one party never had power and finally ended up getting it. But there's an acknowledgement of strength and power here that is finally being realized. Moving on here, to take time to breathe out. Your hard work is paying off and nothing is yet set in stone. They all have messages that are bleeding into each other as well, because disseminating moon is all about that transitional time from full moon to new moon, where its energy or light is subsiding. So there is a situation or something that has reached its peak and is now starting to mellow out. So now is a time to regroup or to look over where it is that we've come from. And that ties into nothing is yet set in stone here, because this card talks about an outcome that is not finalized yet and can still be influenced. So when we're in that stage of waning, things are cooling off and can be more easily coerced because the energy is starting to taper off a little bit. The energy isn't as thick. It's not as intense. It's not as heavy. Now it's a little lighter. It's a little more easy to direct or influence. Okay. Then moving on to your hard work is paying off. New moon in Capricorn, a cardinal sign. This is confirming yet again that now I have the power to make that first move and to gain control. So you can begin regulating what it is that happens instead of being a bystander to your own circumstances. This is very much about realizing your part in your own story or turn of events. And then moving on here to scrying, mirror, projection. This is giving me heavy lovers vibes down here because we often project in our relationships or our relationships project onto us. I think earlier in this video, I also used the word project or projection, something like that, or mirror maybe. But you know, we often do project onto our relationships, or they often project onto us. And we do it with close loved ones, with family, with friends, strangers, people on the internet. We project a lot, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. We need to acknowledge it to be able to recognize when we are projecting versus when we are receiving an unadulterated response from another entity or from someone else, from the other. So it's important to be able to know the difference, because projections can really harm even the most solid relationships. So this card also ties into crystals healing for me, because our relationships, which can act as reflectors or mirrors into the soul, are one of the most profound ways that we can heal. Because when we see ourselves through another person, sometimes it's easier for us to acknowledge, okay, this is me, whether we deem it as good or bad. I don't really like using the words good or bad, but whether we deem it as good or bad, we can still see who it is that we are. And this offers us the most amazing chance for healing and evolution. And I believe chance is saying, again, we have a chance here for healing and evolution, but we also have the chance here coming up with this new moon to step into our own dominion and authority. There's a huge chance for us to emerge from the shadows, or just working with the moon to attract things in our life, to now I can assertively step into a place of power, make myself known, and make certain power moves. I truly feel like this new moon is a time for many of us to emerge out into the world and to express ourselves louder or more clear. This is your time to be heard, even in a room full of people or in a world of differences. This is your opportunity to claim your own voice and power. This is what Libra is teaching us: how to claim authority without taking from another, how to speak loudly without overshadowing the other, how to express your own light without dimming another's. This balance is extremely important for us to learn. So I think anything like wanting to express yourself more, to developing more confidence or more of your own individuality, or if you need or just want to be seen by someone in particular, like a lover or a boss or your family or the internet or the world, even these are some really good things to work on manifesting, because the energy is primed for it already with this new moon in Libra. So maybe a promotion or a higher position is a good thing to work on attracting this new moon. And if you want to manifest really easily, try to find a way to tie your manifestations into your divine purpose, or some way that these wants can not only benefit you but the collective, and it will materialize so fast it's not even funny. I'm going to leave you all with the cards here to come up with your own interpretation of the cards and what they were saying to you. I want to thank you all for helping this channel to reach 25,000 subscribers. You guys just don't know how much I love you all. Thank you to your guides, my guides, our higher self and spirit, for such a beautiful message today. Hopefully you all come back to visit me sometime soon. And until next time, go take over the world. Be brave, be you, be fearless. I'm rooting for you guys, all right? Bye now.